A batholith is, normally the crust of the earth is 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 feet thick, depending on which area of the earth. A volcano, obviously, an active volcano is where the crust gets hauled out by a batholith or a magma chamber and makes it to the surface. And if you go to Enchanted Rock outside Austin, Texas, it's a big mountain of pink and gray granite. Very beautiful. It looks like a big, half soccer ball sticking up out of the ground, basically. And it's a batholith because it pushes the crust up, or a mountain up above it. Over time, that erodes away, and you've got a perfectly, round dome of frozen lava, cooled magma. And talking to petroleum geologists, and I've read about in Russia and other places where they have been drilling down not just 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, that they'll hit these and it just fries everything and explodes and does cause a big leak. And then the Russians just kind of sweep it under the rug and don't even put it on their media because it's on land. And then it kills a bunch of people. Here, though, you do this in the Gulf of Mexico. Going back to Lindsey Williams, we're going to go 30 minutes into the next hour. I'm going to go into overdrive again today. I'm getting addicted to this. I did an hour and 15 minutes of extra broadcast yesterday, but we'll just do 30 minutes next hour. And I really appreciate Lindsey Williams coming on this because he's got BP sources and he has this former, I know the former CEO, and so does Lindsey Williams' other colleague, Dr. Stan Monteith, because I believe Lindsey Williams when he tells us all this. He's a good pastor, wrote a book 25 years ago that's now been admitted to be accurate, given us other predictions that come true. But Dr. Stan Monteith knew who this guy was like I did and actually called him. But I'm going to leave it at that. So this is real intel, but take it for what it's worth. A globalist, a Bilderberg-type guy, former, head of one of the big three oil companies. This is his view on it. We're getting it from Lindsey Williams. Lindsey, that petroleum geologist that called in backed up what you had to say. Please continue. But this looks like they drilled into some type of magma chamber or batholith.
Senator Bill Nelson, Democrat from Florida, he appeared yesterday, June the 9th, on MSNBC. Andrea Mitchell interviewed him. You can go and look at this. Please do. He said, oil is seeping up from the seabed. Now let me give you the report that was given on Tuesday of this week by NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. This is Chris Baltimore. You'll notice that I am very carefully documenting everything I am saying today, Alex. This man is from Houston. This appeared on Reuters. Go and find it for yourself. It says, U.S. experts investigating reports of undersea oil plumes emanating from BP's Pix-stricken well in the Gulf of Mexico on Tuesday confirmed the presence of low levels of oil below the surface. NOAA is confirming the presence of very low concentrations of subsurface oil, and they have admitted now to undersea plumes. Now, let me try to explain very quickly. Undersea plumes. What the gentleman said just a moment ago that you took the phone call from, Alex, he's exactly right. And when I heard him say it, I knew I'll get to it in a minute. Undoubtedly, whenever this extreme pressure of 20 to 70,000 pounds per square inch hit that pipe, it probably bursted at numerous points between the floor where they had gone into this strata of oil and the top of the pipe. And now that oil is leaking out as far as 20 miles away. Now, not just 5. NOAA said that they had roughly been able to confirm 20-mile-away plumes. This means that this thing is fractured in many spots.
And let me just add that a batholith is a underground magma chamber that has cooled. A laccolith is one that is still molten. And that was their concern with super deep drilling, is that they would hit these underground magma chambers. And a lot of laymen looking at it coming out under pressure, record pressure, said it looks like a volcano. Well, what does your inside source say? Because that's where this looks like this is leading.
Yes, that's exactly correct. Now, let me go to something much more startling. The black oil in the water in the Gulf of Mexico is not the greatest danger. Are you hearing me? I mean, you've got to understand we are not being told by our president and by our congressman, and they know this. The black stuff that comes out that you call oil is just destroying wildlife, fish and oysters and shrimp and fishermen's occupations and pristine white beaches and the marshlands and the coral reefs. What comes out with the oil? Most people don't realize this, Alex, that there are actually things that come out of the ground with the oil, and what comes out of the ground, out of that gusher with the oil, is causing the death of humans and unborn babies. Folks, please, I have never been so concerned in my life. Most people think only oil comes out. Oil is not the only thing that comes out. I'm going to give them to you right from the EPA. They came out with their report this week. This is the Environmental Protection Agency. They went to the Gulf. They made their test, and they found coming out with the oil are some of the most toxic compounds and gases. They're in the air. They are flammable. They are toxic, and I'm going to name them for you and give you the report right from the Environmental Protection Agency. They are hiding this. I was able to get it. Please write these words down. They announced just this week volatile organic compounds in the air in the Gulf. Did you get those words? This is very important. Volatile organic compounds. They listed some. I'm going to list them for you. This will scare the daylights out of you. In the atmosphere, in the Gulf, number one, hydrogen sulfide. The levels that are allowed, according to the EPA's own statements, the allowable levels of hydrogen sulfide are 5 to 10 parts per billion. I'm saying these very carefully so you get it. ppb, parts per billion. They tested in the last few days in the Gulf, and the winds are carrying this to the shore. This scares the daylights out of me. Florida's getting it. Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, Louisiana, hydrogen sulfide. Safe levels, 5 to 10 parts per billion. Tested level this past week presently, 1,200 parts per billion. And you wonder why people are getting sick. Let me give you the next one. Benzene. Oh, please. I'm going to read you the contents and how dangerous benzene is in a moment. Benzene. This is toxic. It causes malignancies. It's known to cause leukemia and cancer. The safe level, according to the Environmental Protection Agency's own records, it is so toxic they only allow 0 to 4 parts per billion. The current level in the Gulf of Mexico going to the shore of all of those states and Florida being carried by the winds is 3,000 parts per billion. Folks, this is so startling. The people down there should at least be warned by this 13-year-old adult we call the President of the United States of America. The people should at least be told by this man what they're breathing, what they're facing, and that 2, 3, 5, 10 years from now, we're going to have deformed babies and people with respiratory problems and people dying. I'm going to give you one more. Well, I must go back to benzene. Wait a minute. I got to read you what it says on benzene. Exposure to low levels of benzene can cause dizziness, drowsiness, headache, confusion, tremor, rapid heartbeat, and unconsciousness. Long-term exposure to benzene can cause damage in the bone marrow and lead to blood problems like leukemia. It also weakens the immune system and targets organs such as the kidneys, lungs, and the brain. Folks, this is so dangerous until even I, as a minister, shudder to think about it. I'm going to give you one more. It was in the EPA's report. Methylene chloride. Safe levels of methylene chloride that a person can breathe in the air, and this is airborne, in the Gulf. Safe levels, 61 parts per billion. The current levels that were just found a few days ago by the EPA, 3,000 to 3,400 parts per billion. And the American people are not being warned that they're breathing this toxic, flammable stuff. And Alex, a hurricane. I shudder to think about it. A hurricane could carry this stuff all the way up the east coast of America, and no health care system in the world would ever be able to pay the hospital bills of what people are going to suffer. Alex, I'm sure.
Well, the good news is there's tens of trillions of gallons. In fact, I don't know the number. Guys, do a search engine on estimated gallons of water in the Gulf of Mexico / Caribbean. I mean, the good news is, though, even though you're saying your sources have this at 4 or 5 million gallons a day, not 500 million, even though all that's going on, that a lot of this is going to be dispersed and diluted. I mean, I'm not saying it is, but I mean, certainly the people are getting sick who are cleaning this up. And I had thought, I mean, I know there is some of these toxins in oil, depending on where you drill. It varies. As you know, Lindsey, working for oil companies, you have the sweet crude that's very clean. You have the regular crude that has a lot of other things in it. And a lot of the toxic waste that we deal with in the oil industry is the byproducts and what to do with it all. But any way you slice it, it's a catastrophe.